Today, I want to talk about how Roaring Kitty, or Keith Gill, was actually sued again back in June-July of 2024 in an attempt to stop the mother of all short squeezes by ceasing his communications. Now, this actually gets much more juicy, so stay tuned and let's make some money. But now I'll dive straight in with the key information. So, we can see here that Martin brought this lawsuit in the United States District Court against Keith Patrick Gill. This is an obvious attempt to stop the mother of all short squeezes, or the run-up from May, June and July, by stopping Roaring Kitty from tweeting. Now, this is a lawsuit accusing Roaring Kitty of market manipulation or pumping and dumping, and requests or requires Roaring Kitty to disgorge all ill-gotten profits. Basically, they want Roaring Kitty to give back the hundreds of millions of dollars he made over the last few months on the recent GameStop run-ups. This lawsuit basically suggests that Roaring Kitty, or Keith Gill, knew what he was doing as he bought call options before his return to Twitter, and suggests that with his large following on social media that he can control the market. Now, while I don't disagree with that, I don't see any difference between what Roaring Kitty did tweeting about GameStop and what Jim Cramer or any other hedge fund manager does talking about a stock on the mainstream media. But obviously, this is just their attempt to silence him. Now, something really interesting is this lawsuit actually reveals that Roaring Kitty is now also a former registered stockbroker, aka Roaring Kitty actually had his license already taken away. While Roaring Kitty doesn't necessarily need a 9-to-5 job anymore, it seems very unfair they actually stripped him of his securities licenses and effectively took away his job and his ability to be a registered stockbroker just for tweeting about a company. Obviously, I won't go through this full lawsuit. I'll leave the link down in the description below, but it obviously identifies that on 12th of May 2024, Roaring Kitty came back to Twitter and effectively caused a massive jump in the GameStop stock price. But arguably what's most interesting about this lawsuit is the guy that actually raised the lawsuit. His name is Martin Raydev, who, as PK Lance has identified, is actually an employee or an owner of Corner Store Fund Services, aka he works at a hedge fund or even owns a hedge fund. Likely a hedge fund that is short GameStop, potentially with synthetic shares, again that was likely to be liquidated unless Roaring Kitty was sued. I think they raised this lawsuit against him to stop him from tweeting and to stop him from bringing more attention towards GameStop and AMC. He can and was causing massive movements in the stock's price, which was potentially on the brink of causing the mother of all short squeezes. But what I do find hilarious is that as of today, or as of last night, the internet link moas.com now redirects to the Roaring Kitty's YouTube channel. I don't know if it was Roaring Kitty himself who purchased this link and redirected it to his YouTube page, but what's also interesting is the link september4th.com also redirects to his YouTube channel as well. I'm actually not that up to date with specifics of GameStop, and I don't know if September 4th stands for something, whether it's to do with 741 or if it's to do with something else. But I do find it very interesting is that as of yesterday, both these links now redirect directly to his YouTube page. I also wanted to touch on Moomoo's new and best promotion they've ever done, currently giving away 20 free stocks upon sign up. Also with a massive 8.1% interest on uninvested funds. Right now, when you sign up and deposit $100, you get 8 free shares, and if you deposit $1,000, you get an extra 12 free shares on top of that, giving you a total of 20 free shares. Moomoo has also now released cash accounts, so you can actually disable share lending with Moomoo. You're not just restricted to a margin account, you can change to a cash account and disable all share lending on any stocks. On top of that, you also get 8.1% interest on uninvested funds, made up of 5.1% interest as a base rate, with a bonus 3% interest on top of that for 3 months. As I've said before, Moomoo is the only broker that doesn't accept payment for order flow, where you can actually disable your share lending on those new cash accounts. So guys, be sure to join Moomoo using my link in the description below. Now what's also interesting is that the SEC is also suing Virtu Financial for stock market manipulation and front-running retail trades and their own customers' trades. Now Virtu motioned to dismiss the case in court, but the judge replied saying the defendants allowed nearly unrestricted access to material non-public information and misled customers, and therefore denied the motion to dismiss. So it looks like this lawsuit or this case against Virtu will actually be heading to court where all of the truth will be unveiled. It will be very interesting to see exactly how Virtu was manipulating the market and how they were front-running customers, but I imagine as usual they'll just receive a small fine, but the truth will be out there. It also seems this lawsuit will garner a lot of press or public attention, especially on Twitter, as it will be covered by a number of journalists. For example, this account here with 273,000 followers is already tweeting about the SEC versus Virtu lawsuit. Now, the reason why this lawsuit progressing is good or is very interesting is because everything discovered in this SEC case against Virtu Securities can and likely will be used in the ongoing Department of Justice RICO lawsuit. It appears these dominoes are steadily being knocked down, first with Andrew Left in Citron Research, then with Doug Sifu and Virtu, until finally we get to Ken Griffin and Citadel. And it seems Doug Sifu is desperate to try and stop any short squeezes he possibly can by fighting back against the SEC. Doug tweeted saying Virtu has pressed the SEC to ban exchanges from listing risky penny stocks. He said, Gary Gensler, here's how you can actually add value. Basically, Doug Sifu wants the SEC or wants these exchanges to delist penny stocks and ban them from listing them. But I think it's likely because many of these penny stocks are where all of the synthetic shorts are held. Don't forget, a synthetic shorter's main aim is to get a stock below $1 or $2 per share to desperately try and get that stock delisted. They don't want that stock to ever be relisted, and they don't want those stocks on the stock exchanges, because if the stock is delisted and is seller boxed for an eternity, they never have to close that short position. But all the while the stock remains listed, and all the while more and more retail investors are trading these small stocks, causing miniature short squeezes or even larger short squeezes, it puts these hedge funds at risk. But obviously if Doug Sifu can get these small stocks delisted and stop them from ever being listed again, he effectively wins. And that's why I think that any stock, whether it's large, small or mid-sized, should be listed on the stock exchange. I also wanted to quickly go through some of today's gains from the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group. Snowbird made over $7,000 from NASDAQ calls. There was a 51% gain on CING, CING, and a 21% gain on GovX, GOFX. So guys, be sure to join the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group for gains like these using the link in the description below. Now, I also found this tweet about AMC very interesting, and its massive price target that was given to it a few years ago by actual Wall Street analysts. So it says after AMC bought Carmike back in 2017, AMC had a whopping $5 billion in debt. At that time, Wall Street analysts gave AMC a price target of $400 per share. 7 years later, we now have less debt, new revenue lines, more revenue, less expenditure and less profit. So I wonder what the real price target for AMC should be now. This is a chart that shows the number of screens that AMC had back in 2013 and in 2022. In 2013, AMC controlled nearly 6,000 screens. But now, as of 2022, 2 years ago, that number is nearly 8,000. So AMC controlled 6,000 screens and had an actual price target of $400 per share. I wonder, with 8,000 screens, more revenue, more profit and less expenditure, just how much higher that real price target should be. Biotech Moose believes it should be at least $350 to $400 per share, especially when AMC has no debt in the short-term future. I imagine the only reason these analysts changed their price target from $400 per share downwards is due to the synthetic shorting and the pressure put on them by the other hedge funds. I imagine these shorts or these hedge funds are trying to back themselves out of their synthetic short position and accumulate as many shares of AMC as they possibly can from the paper hands before pushing the price back up. And finally for today, Kristen has tweeted about the hedge fund that was just penalised for allowing 10 million short sales without locating shares, but only received a $250,000 fine. So again, this is more proof that synthetic shorting does exist and went undiscovered for at least 6 or 7 years until they were actually caught for illegally shorting, but only received a tiny fine. Now there's so much to unpack in that sentence. It shows that synthetic shorting does absolutely exist and potentially exists in way more of a capacity than anyone actually thinks because it just goes undiscovered. So when people like Charles Gasparino try and tell you that synthetic shorting doesn't exist or that it does exist only in minute quantities, remind him of this, that it often takes the SEC 6 or 7 years to discover the true extent of synthetic shorting. This is from June 2017 to present, aka 6 or 7 years. ACS violated Regulation SHO by affecting at least 10 million short sales by not locating shares. But again, yet was only fined $250,000 and likely profited many multiples of that. But again, this does give the SEC more and more evidence for building that RICO case. So guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.